For going on 30 years, our guest has worked as a registered psychologist as well as a pastor, helping numerous people navigate through life's most difficult challenges. Today, he's here to talk about what he considers one of the most misunderstood concepts in the entire emotional realm, and that's anger. Bretherick is a speaker and author of this book, Healing Life's Hurts, Making Your Anger Work for You. In it, he encourages the reader to actually turn our anger into our friend. And it's a concept that is new to most of us. Graham, welcome to Full Circle. You have definitely got our attention with that.
Thank you, Ann. It's a pleasure to be here.
Angry, and then you're
I know, all the anger jokes. I know.
Yeah, I know.
Now, you say that most people have misconceptions about anger. What do you mean?
Well, because almost everybody will define anger as bad, as harmful. They don't like it, as destructive. And I do these surveys when I do the workshop, and I just get a basic definition from people. And as I go around the room, everybody defines anger by its expression. Now, anger has expression, but anger has a definition as well of what it is. And that confusion, for most of us, we define anger as rage. You know, when we see rage, active aggression is another term. When we see that, we go, oh, there's anger. We say, oh, there's an angry person. But we've forgotten that I've grouped it into 4 different categories of expression. But let me define anger by what I think is the biblical term first. Okay. All right? Because anger, again, is defined as bad by most people and negative. And when I was going through the scriptures about 20 some odd years ago, I looked up every usage of the word anger, angry, wrath, rage, all those words, about over 600 references in the Bible. And as I went through, this phrase kept coming back to me, and the Lord burned with anger. And David burned with anger, and Saul burned with anger. And you'll see it a number of times in the Old Testament. So I thought, okay, there's something really esoteric back here in the Hebrew. So, being as I had a little Hebrew background, I went back and looked it up, and it just meant burned. So I said, Holy Spirit, what does this mean? And he said to me, think about Physics 101, Graham. What happens when you burn something? Anger is released in the form of energy. I mean, energy is released in the form of anger, and it's released in the form of heat and light. Think so. You burn something, and what's released? Heat and light. What is that? It's energy. And suddenly I had a moment, an epiphany, if you want, just this moment of, what is anger? It's energy. Now that changed the whole thing around. The other thing that changed it around is the fact that God is angry, and he's never apologized for it once. So instead of anger being bad, actually I thought, you know what, it's not even neutral as I was taught in university. It's a neutral emotion. I don't even think it's primarily an emotion. It has lots of emotional expression. But it's not primarily an emotion, like fear and guilt and shame and some of those other factors. I think anger is energy. And it's good, and it's given to us by God to protect us from danger. If you don't have anger, you are a victim the rest of your life. Now, anger used right is a very constructive process. Anger used wrong, which is where we see most of it, is a very destructive process. And for many people, that's what they think of. They think of anger as a destructive process because they have experienced the anger used as control, as retaliation, as reaction back again. They've used anger in that way.
So how do you use anger in a positive way?
Without,
being destructive. I mean, how are you supposed to use that? Because you're right. When we think of anger, we think of negativity, we think of rage, we think of all of these things. So if you're saying anger is good, how do we use that? If I get angry at you, how am I supposed to respond?
Well, if I were to go back to the Bible again, in Ephesians 4:26, it says, be angry, and in the Greek, actually, it's be angry, a command, and it's actually in the continuous tense, in the present tense, so that means continuously be angry, but it says, but continuously don't sin in it.
Be angry all the time.
Be angry all the time, in a right way. Let me give you an example.
That's an interesting concept.
I need an example.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to be. Anger actually is the reaction within me when there's danger, okay? My definition of anger is we react, when there's danger present, we react, okay, to it. And the anger comes up, and I have a physiological reaction in my body that prepares me for flight or fight, all right? So let me just give you a biblical example of that. That's David in the Old Testament. Here's Goliath. He's out there threatening the armies for 40 days. He harasses them. The leader of the Israelites is Saul, who's head and shoulders above everybody else. He's their giant. But he's overwhelmed by fear, and he doesn't use his anger. All right? David comes along, and he views this thing, and he says, how dare you insult the armies of the living God? He's angry. Now, the word isn't used there in 1 Samuel 17, but he's angry. And so he uses his anger to give him courage. Anger gives us courage. Think of the times when you've needed to confront And if you do it in a right way, you confront properly and you deal with things you wouldn't otherwise
That's
deal with.
righteous anger.
That's righteous. Now,
Okay.
yeah, but let me
'cause
just.
We're all kind of like, oh.
Yeah, but look, you see, when we say righteous anger, that's anger used in the right way. We use the term righteous indignation for Jesus, right? Because we think Jesus can't be angry.
But here's the thing that really struck me, Graham. So I was thinking, okay, anger is a friend. I'm kind of getting that. But what really got me was you shared about outward anger and inward anger, and you have this passive anger.
Right.
And there were some conviction points for me, because as I was looking through the list of the passive anger, you mentioned that anger comes out in ways of procrastination,
Right.
gossip, sarcasm, mocking, excessive spending, non-compliance. Like, you give a whole list, and I'm kind of going, those are anger issues. I mean, you go into the inward about depression and that one, but the passive anger,
Right.
I was shocked that those, you actually said that those things stem from anger in us.
I think, Melinda, more anger is expressed in the passive form because it's more socially acceptable than is the anger that's expressed in rage form. That way.
But why
Yeah.
is that? But like procrastination.
Well, because you see, let's just take a parent-child situation. Child's playing with his toys, is not particularly hungry. Mother says, come for dinner. The child, what does he do? Just says, I don't want to come. He procrastinates, waits, and then that can be a form of non-compliance as well. And so the child is saying, I'm angry. I'm not angry at this level here. I'm just angry here. I don't want to be disturbed from my play. See? Now, even in procrastination, the boss has asked you to do something. Anne asked you to do something. You say, I don't really want to do this, you know? So you procrastinate and put it off. Because in a level, you're angry. Now, because we define anger by rage, we say, well, I'm not raging mad at the producer or the boss or at Bill. But I'm angry enough to just sort of put it off and put it off. Now, procrastination can be for a number of reasons. I can put it off because I'm afraid. I can put it off because, I just don't like this kind of work. But sometimes if we examine it, we find, oh, you know what? There's anger behind that.
And that can build up. And that can build up after a
Oh,
while.
absolutely. That's the whole point. You see, is that anger builds in us. And see, my definition again is all hurt is danger to us, and danger will automatically produce anger in me. It's just the way God.
All hurt is danger to
all
us.
hurt is danger to us.
Oh, okay.
And danger will produce anger in me. That's the way God has made me. So you see, when I get angry, I don't have to say, oh, I need to apologize for my anger. No, I need to ask, why am I angry? What is the danger out there that I'm facing? Yeah, see?
You say every hurt generates anger. And I'm sure there are many watching, joining our circle today. Just this whole Valentine thing
Oh, yes.
is stirring up pain.
Yeah.
Pain, broken relationships, unmet longings, a whole gamut of things. Whatever, if we are aware
Right.
of what that anger is, because it may be suppressed, which is another whole issue.
Yes.
Getting to that stuff we don't even know we've buried for years and years.
Right.
What do we do about it so that it does not take us down?